Hello, and welcome to Husky Talk. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. I would like to thank our sponsors at Procyon Partners. Procyon Partners, they specialize in wealth management, employee benefits, and retirement planning. President Sean Rabinowitz is a proud supporter of Husky Talk. Uh, Currently, we need to be there for him and his wife. His son Ben has leukemia, needs a bone marrow transplant. They are doing a bone marrow drive at UConn coming up. So we need people to show up. If you can't, we will put the website in the show notes. You can go to the website, have the testing kit sent to your house, and it's a quick cheek swab, mail it back. You could be the match that saves Ben's life. We also have to thank Pete Finch and the Finch Law Firm. If you have been arrested or feel your rights have been violated and you are in a pinch, call Finch. Pete Finch and the Finch Law Firm has fought battles all across the state of Connecticut and are based out of Bridgeport. They are based out of Bridgeport, Connecticut. And Bleeding Blue for Good. Bleeding Blue for Good, Mike Burton. He has done a phenomenal job raising NIL money for Bleeding Blue, our collective. We're 4 weeks away from the transfer portal, and now is the time. We need donations now more than ever to keep the players that we have and to bring in the players that we're going to need to have continued success. Go to www.bleedingblueforgood.org. And now I can finally introduce the guest of honor who I have known and very well and looked up to, Miss Keisha Cummings, a former UConn track star. And I just had Bethany Hart on earlier.
Hey, so Bethany.
She asked me to say hello, and I wanted to welcome you to Husky Talk.
Thank you so much for having me, Steve. Oh, please tell Bethany I said hello.
I will. She was so excited that I was having you on because I try to get as many different athletes from different sports as I can. And it's always fun to have the track people on because I don't know the background. So it's such a learning experience for me. I enjoy it that much more because I get to know you. I get to learn your story. And to me, that's always the most interesting part. When you hear someone's story, you hear their background, where they came from, and what they're doing now. So that's why I am thrilled, and we're going to get right into it. So initially, I have no idea. Where are you from?
I am from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Steve, I love it. I love the authenticity.
It's a gimmick. Yeah.
It's a gimmick? Okay.
Yeah, it's just a gimmick. Yeah.
I'm from Philadelphia.
You're from PA? Okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm from Pennsylvania. Before we get started, I do want to send my prayers to Ben and his family.
Thank you so much.
Let them know that we have myself and some people here in Virginia. I'm going to go to church and put his name in our intercessory prayer with my spiritual father, Bishop Daniel Robinson in Mount Gilead. So
that's so sweet. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. We believe in prayer. We believe in miracles from God. So I just want to send my prayers to Ben.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. We've been trying to do drives. They did a drive in Norwich, Connecticut a few weeks ago. They got UConn to do a drive. And then I reached out to a couple of former players that I know, principal in Florida, Jeff Larson, and Dave DeArmas, who's in Virginia, and asked them if they could help out and do drives at the high school. And they said, absolutely, whatever it takes. And I think that just shows that at UConn, we're a family. We stay together, and no matter what, we'll be there for each other. And I'm hopeful that we'll get a match. And Ben has already had leukemia, and he beat it once, and it just came back. And the kid is fearless, and I had a chance to meet him. I do a radio show for the Worcester Red Sox, covering the team, and I invited Sean and his wife out to a game. They came, and I got to sit next to Ben and get to know him, and it was just a great experience. Um, Ben knew that I wanted a cotton candy because I saw the cotton candy. I'm like, oh, that looks good. So for 3 innings straight, Ben hounded Sean, his father, for cotton candy. And of course, Sean gets his son the cotton candy. Ben immediately hands it over to me, and I'm eating the cotton candy. Sean just looks back, and he just starts shaking his head. I'm like,
Oh,
the
you got
kid,
them.
the kid's good.
Mm-hmm.
But he's
Well,
a happy kid. He loves sports, and we hope he's going to get through this. We're going to get a match. We're going to get the transplant, and God bless Sean and his wife because they are so positive. And I can't imagine what they're going through, but we are there for them. We are there
two
for them.
times the charm. He will get the match. We're going to come in agreement with that. And
So go ahead.
no, I really appreciate the fact that you have. I know you told me that you spoke to Bethany and Trisha. I appreciate the fact that you cover track. Um,
Yeah, I'm trying to.
yeah, and
I'm trying to.
I can link you with some so many wonderful people from track. I don't know if you remember my roommate Lissa. Um,
Love her.
yeah.
She's refused to come on. But
Oh
if
no.
you can get her to come on, I would love to have her. I
Yeah.
love Lissa. I love Lissa.
Today is Matt's birthday, and so I saw that on Facebook earlier.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I had coffee on too. I
Okay.
remember I had her, and she's the first female firewoman in the state of Connecticut. She transitioned into being a firefighter, and she works in Norwich as well. So I thought that was cool, and I love the track people, the track athletes, and the stories, because track is so different because it's a team sport, but it's individualized.
Mm-hmm.
So it requires a huge commitment, and training on your own quite a bit, and a lot to be successful. So growing up in Philly, early on, were you an athlete? Did you play sports early on? 5, 6, 7, 8 in that age group?
I did. I have been running track since I was about 6 or 7 years old.
They had track
Yeah.
at 6 and 7 years old. Really?
Yeah. Philadelphia is like really big on track. And
I
so
had no
what happened
idea.
was my best friend and I, we used to be in the schoolyard and we used to always be all the boys. And it was a track coach, Mr. Munchkin. I never forget him. He said, I want to take you to the Philadelphia Flames. And that's how we got introduced to track, my best friend and I. So I've been running track, like I said, since I was like 6 or 7. And yes, it's really big in Philadelphia. You have
Wow.
you have track meets with hundreds, if not thousands, of people every week at Marcus Foster Track and Field, and so it is really big. It is definitely really big at a young age in Philadelphia.
Well,
Yes,
I always knew of the Penn relays. The Penn relays were the
exactly.
big ones, but yeah, I had no idea. When you're that young, are the events any different? I mean, do they still have you run like the 100 and all that, or no?
They
They
do.
do. Oh
They
my
do.
God.
So when you're young, you generally like most runners start off like the 100 and 200 because when you're like 6 and 7, you're not running 2 miles. So
Right.
like I started off as a sprinter. I started
Yeah.
off in the 100 and the 200, and so yeah. But the only difference when you're younger is that sometimes you get to run with the boys, and as you get older, obviously you can't compete with boys. But that's the only difference. So yeah, when you're younger, and like I said, I ran track since I'm I want to say I was 6 because I remember running because my birthday's in December, so I
Yes.
always had to run up. I always had to
Right.
like, I was six running with the seven and eights. I was like seven, no, I was eight running with the nine and tens. Like that's how it goes in track. It goes in like 2 years. But
Was it a school team or was it like a club team?
it's a club team. It was the
Okay.
Philadelphia Flames, and you had the
Flames.
Philadelphia Flames, and you had Morris Estate. Morris Estate was the boys team, which Ali Munchkin was the head of the boys team, and that was the teacher that saw my best friend and I, and was like, I need to introduce you to the Philadelphia Flames. And so that was Mr. Jackson, Ron Jackson. And he introduced us to the Flames, and that's what started my track career.
Did you love it from the start, from the first time you ran, or did it
Um,
take a little while to grow on you?
I don't know. I don't know if like when you're that age, you love it. It's just like this is something to do, and you run. It was my best friend and I. It was all
Yeah,
girls.
you're with
We
your
were,
friends.
yeah, we were running. You become, a team. Like you said, it's a little bit different because track is an individualized sport.
Yes.
So the training is different, but at the same time, it's still a team sport. Like because you train with a team.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so yeah, I mean, you loved when you're young. It's a practice. Like your mom put you in an extracurricular activity, and that was
Yeah.
our what we thought was an extracurricular activity, but it's not like that. It's not like a club. It wasn't a club team. How because I was in that kind of team, I didn't realize that people had like club teams. And
Right. Right.
so because the Philadelphia Flames, it was a competitive club team. It wasn't just like an extracurricular activity. You had to train.
What was the age range of the Flames? Did they go all the way up through high school?
Up to
Oh,
18.
they did.
Up to
Wow.
18. Yep.
Wow.
Up
I
to
did not
18.
know that.
Absolutely. It was a when we traveled across the country from like a young age, I traveled with track. Like from
Oh my
7 years
God.
old, I traveled across the country running competitively. Whether or not it was Texas, uh,
Texas.
yeah, Texas, California, Louisiana, Florida. That started at a young age with the Philadelphia Flames.
God,
Yeah.
I would have been terrified to get on an airplane at like 6 years old.
Hmm. And then
I believe that.
yeah,
I had
yeah.
no idea. I had no idea that I mean, that must have been one of the top clubs in Philadelphia, and they took you guys everywhere to compete.
Yeah, and you did have to qualify to compete.
Yeah,
So
right,
you
right,
weren't just going. That's why I said it was a club. It was club, but it was also competitive. So if you didn't meet the mark to be like in a certain heat, then you weren't going.
right.
So it might be 10 girls. We're going to take 4 girls for the 4x4 team, the 4x1 team, 4x18, 4x2 team, whatever was going on. We're going to take 4 girls and maybe one alternative. But yeah, you had to compete to like be the best.
Yeah,
Because track and field, you have AAU. So
yeah.
you have AAU. You go to your AAU track meets in the summertime, and then you go to it
My
was
God,
always it was at Townsend. It was the East Coast Invitational, and then you went to your USA Track and Field meet. So those are big.
that's huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, because one of my co-hosts for one of my other podcasts was my track. I did track as well, not running obviously, but he was the track coach at our local high school for 40 plus years. And like we never had club teams or AAU for track. It was just the school team, and it started from seventh grade on. So that's why to hear that you guys started that young, that's new to me, and I had no idea. So by the time you got to junior high, were you on the school team? Like, did you start with the school? No.
I
Okay.
never, I never. So by the time I got to junior high, one of my coaches, who is a very well world-renowned coach now in track and field, he started his own team. His name is Derek Thompson,
Okay.
and he is the track coach of. If you know about track, IG Wilson a couple of years ago was the fastest 800-meter runner.
800. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we went with Derek. He started his own team in middle school, and so I went with Derek. Like I said, Derek Thompson, and we didn't do we didn't train like from a young age. I was coached to be. I was. It was a different realm, like school. You know, you have school
Yeah.
and you have
Yeah.
off, and I never knew what it was like to kind of be like on a club team. Although the Philadelphia Flames was a club, I never knew what it was like to kind of like be on the school team because we were like trained very extensively and very, I should say, intensively at
Yeah.
a young age. So no, I never ran for my middle school. I trained with Derek, which was competitively like track and field. And in
It
middle
was,
school, I believe we were that's when we started doing Colgate, like the Colgate games at in New York City.
that's wow. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea. I had no idea. So the club team that you were on
Mm-hmm.
was much better than the school team you would have been on.
It was
And and the club team obviously probably had the best talent from the entire area as opposed to the school team which would just have the best talent from the school, right?
exactly. Now
I
there were people. So let's say like high school. I
yeah.
went to Central, which is a magnet school in Philadelphia, and so I say that to say it's definitely it wasn't like a school known for athletics, but you
Right.
did have teammates of mine who went to schools, high school teams like William Penn and Simon Gratz, who are they're known for track and field, who would run for their high school, and so I would train with Derek, and then I would do meets with my high school.
Oh, wow.
Because everybody that trained with Derek,
He was the man
I mean,
or the best.
he is the man.
Yeah.
Yes, he is the man. And so if you ran with Derek, it was like he was like a coach, mentor, father,
Oh, that's
drill
great. So
sergeant. He was like everything. And so
rolled
the
into
whole point
one.
is if you had a Derek athlete coming to your school, you knew that the athlete wasn't leaving to train with you. But Derek, we were allowed to run for our high school. And so I ran under Fred Rosenfeld. What may he rest in peace. He just passed away maybe 2 months ago from at Central High School. He was a great coach, but I didn't train under him. I always trained and stayed with Derek.
That's amazing. So you ran for your high school team, but your training was consistently with Derek throughout. Wow, from that time all the way up.
That time
That,
all the way up. And even he would
would he come to the meets too?
he has so
He-
many runners. Like say
yeah,
he had 15 runners. Like I was the only one who went to Central. So he had
right,
runners that went to William Penn. He had runners that went to Gratz. He was like our coach and like and like guided us through steps. So let's say for high school, it depends on what him and the other coach will work out. But like
right,
certain meets that wasn't of benefit to his athlete, then we wouldn't do. If
right,
it was
right,
beneficial, like for instance, the pen relays, you know,
right.
if he say Keisha, you gonna run in the pen relays, and I'm running in the pen relays. But it
Yeah,
definitely was what Derek told me to do. So
yeah,
my loyalty was to Derek because I knew that he had the best. I mean, he had been coaching me even with the Philadelphia Flames. He had been coaching me since I was like 9 years old. It's just that like in middle school, he started his own team.
so he always had your best interests in heart,
Always, always.
and
He sent probably everybody that he's raced. I mean, that he's coached. I mean, he's probably responsible for hundreds of people getting like scholarships. And I wasn't one of his best athletes. Like he has athletes that went to Clemson University, Texas. Like I said, IG Wilson. She probably might have been one of the first athletes who did not go to college because she signed a deal with like New Balance or Nike or Adidas or something like that. So he was the pioneer of how football and basketball players like now they can like go to overseas. He was kind of like the pioneer of that with track. Like you got an opportunity to sign a deal with
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I kind of basically just did what Derek told me to do.
So, how would you say you performed? Did you start in varsity at ninth grade, 10th grade?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you were running with the varsity in ninth grade. And
I was offered scholarships for track in ninth grade to go to college.
in ninth grade, holy crap.
Hmm.
Wow. So what was your primary, like the 100, the 4x1, and like the two? No. Okay.
The 800.
Oh, so you were distance. You did more distance. Okay.
Yeah, well, back then when I first started, people would consider it distance, but now I almost feel like they consider it the 800-meter dash now.
Yeah. No,
It's
they run it fast.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's such a race that I feel like the 800 meter. I feel like the 800 rivals to me the 400-meter hurdles is being like probably one of the most hardest races to run in track because you have to have both speed and stamina to run
Right. Right.
100. It's not like if you could be a distance runner, but if you don't have that speed, like at the end, or to be able to move around, then you're going to get lost in the sauce. And then you could be fast,
Lost in the sauce. I like that.
and then you could be fast, but if you don't have that stamina, then
Yeah.
then
You're not
will
gonna make it.
you're not going to make it. So that's
Right.
like
So
Trisha did. Trisha did the 800. Trisha was able to
right.
run
Yes.
as well. Yep.
She told me that she did the 8 and I think the 4 she mentioned. So it's completely different than like running the mile, which I think was the 1600. So
Absolutely.
the 800 is the real deal.
It's a
Um,
different kind of training. It's a different
yeah.
kind of training because I was fast. I was extremely fast, but not like I said. Derek had athletes that went to Crimson, LSU, Texas.
Yeah.
So I
The
probably could
best of the
have,
best.
yeah, I could have been a sprinter somewhere else, but not on Derek's team. So it's a different kind of training because you have to. The way I was trained like in speed training as well as distance training. So I ran indoor, outdoor, and cross country. So it just depends on like what kind of
Wow.
athlete you are. Whereas if you run like the mile, you're like it's more like a pace thing.
Correct. Right.
Like my
You
coach
try to
would
set the
always say,
pace.
he would say distance is discipline. And
Yes.
so so you don't have to naturally have like a talent, like some people are just born with speed. To be a distance runner, you have to have discipline. You have to you can go out there and discipline yourself and run a certain amount of miles and like be a winner and like I wouldn't say necessarily the mile or the 800, but like the 3200 or something like that, or like a cross country meet because it's really a discipline thing that like Derek would always say distance runners have discipline.
So give me an idea because I have no clue. Like, what is the strategy behind being a successful runner in the 800? Like, what's a strategy that you plan
You
going
touched
into a
my
meet?
strategy.
Yeah, yeah.
My strategy when I ran was the fact that I had speed. And
Right,
so
right. But you obviously can't go 100% the whole time. So your strategy is you keep a pace and then you obviously turn it on at some point, right?
yeah, at the
Okay.
end, the last 150 or the last 100, very few people that ran the 800 had the ability to keep up with me when it
Keep
came
up
to
with
speed.
you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if we running and you could, I mean, like I said, and so the 800, that's another thing about the 800 as well as the 400 hurdles, I assume. I never ran the 400 hurdles, but that's another thing about the 800. It's a very strategic race.
Yeah.
Um, you have to strategize based off of your competitors
Oh, okay.
because,
So
like, let's say like Colgate, for instance. I cannot remember this young lady from New York. She went on to do great things, but my strategy would change because I understood that she had more speed than me at the end. But some people I would get in a race with and I would just pace myself and I knew that the last 150 or the last 100, no matter how hard they tried, they weren't as fast as me.
They couldn't get up to
They
you. I
couldn't
got you.
get. Yep. Another strategy for the 800. The 800 race, unlike the one, the two, and the four, you don't stay in your lane.
Right. You don't. You have to pass people. I forgot about that. That's
Yeah.
true.
It's not
Yeah.
something that you stay in your lane. So it's like small stuff that Derek will coach us on. So like in the beginning of the race, it's very, you have to get out a certain way. And that's a
Right.
strategy. Like people don't understand that's a strategy in track. So that was a gift of mine, like to be able to, because you can get caught up, you can fall,
Yeah.
you can get boxed in.
Yeah.
Because people don't realize that. Like people don't realize that you see somebody or that coaches, it might be four girls, and it's like you. Like a lot of times, Derek athletes would be alone, and so they would use their team to like box you in, and there's nothing that you could do once you boxed in track. You just boxed in.
So
So
they would run as a team and
absolutely,
try to box you in so one of their teammates could win. It didn't matter if they won personally, but they just wanted the points as a team. So they felt they did their job as a team to win.
it's just like you. It's
That's
because again, it's an individual sport. It's not like football and track. But
right.
it is straight, like because if you running, you not like thinking like, okay, I'm thinking of these young ladies too from this team, but you're not thinking like, oh, I'm going to box her in the whole race. But it is strategies to that. Like you can get boxed. So if you got three athletes and you on the front and you on the side and I'm right here, and we running
How
that,
do you yeah,
I can't get around you.
there's no way to pass. Yeah.
But that was a gift of mine. I never got boxed in. Like that was one of the best things I did. I knew how to. My coach would use me as an example, like to
Yeah.
other people that didn't know how to start. Because you got to get in and get your pace.
So
You know.
you would start fast
Oh yeah,
and try to get up front, and then you would set your pace.
and then I was set my
And
pace.
and then you would keep that pace throughout, and then the last 150 or so, that's when the jets turned on,
Hmm.
and that's when you would really separate yourself and win.
Again, depending on who was in the race. Yeah,
Correct.
but for the
Right.
most part, yeah, for the most part, I definitely would get out. And no matter what, you don't want to get boxed in.
Right.
Not
Right.
want to
That's
get
the
boxed
worst thing that can happen to
in. Yeah.
you.
Yeah, and then that was definitely a strategy of mine running the 800. I ran a 400 as well. I ran a mile sometimes,
So
but
he could throw you in anything, really, because you were so gifted in what you could do.
uh-huh. And that's a
I got
strategy
you.
of a coach too. Like the
Yes.
coach, when it comes to points and stuff like that. Like when I did run for Central, you do see who's in there. You do see. I'm so glad that people understand this because people don't understand it is a strategy with track. You do see. What the other teams has, you see where you can get points at. So if you already know that you got the 800 on lock or the 400 on lock and you don't have anybody, you're at a track meet and they don't have anybody in a mile run, you might get put in a. Mr. Rosenfeld might say, I need Keisha to run a mile because we need points here, and these other teams that we're competing against don't have anybody in a mile. So you just
Right.
do what you got to do for your team to win. So that's what I can say about Derek. Derek's training was more individual, and when you run for a high school, you do consider
I wish that I had my guy with me, but I definitely want to do another podcast with you when I have my co-host who would coach track for 40 years and have him talk some shop with you about the strategy and stuff.
I
Because
would
that
love
was that was his major thing. Like he would know the day of the meet whether we were going to win or not because he could tally up the points because the numbers don't lie. He would put the numbers together and see where he needed who to run where and how many points we were going to get, where we were going to need points. And like he was always spot on with his prediction before the meet, knowing whether we were going to win or not. And then he also knew the areas where we were deficient and where we were going to have to get lucky or put someone else in to get those points that we were missing to get the lead. So that's funny how it worked out that way.
I don't know anything about that. I'm just whatever my coach told me to do.
Yeah,
I was just like,
exactly. Yeah.
okay, yeah. And then God blessed me because after Derek, I had the opportunity, obviously, to come to UConn, and then I was coached.
All right.
The coach that stuck out to me the most was Sean. I think
Yes.
Sean Wendell.
He was great, and he was one of the was he one of the strength coaches too?
He was the strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah, I love Sean. I loved
I
him.
love Sean. Yeah, it's funny. I was on live last year, and he got on the live, and I had found him, and like, so he was like on the live, and I was like, "That's my coach," and I was like, you know what? It's crazy because everybody, when Sean was at UConn, he was so
Yeah.
good, and I was like, Coach. I'm like, Coach, you're gonna coach in the NFL, the NBA, like one day. Like you're like the best coach ever. And obviously he went to the NBA,
Yes.
NBA strength and conditioning coach. And so when I started off as Derek, I was like Derek's first batch, like of because Derek is from Jamaica. And so he's naturally like a soccer coach. He plays soccer. And
I got you.
yeah, and so he started off as like a father at at track practice, and then he started coaching. And so he started off like just coaching us, and then obviously he's coaching the world
Right.
right now. And so it's the same thing with Coach. I call him Coach Sean. Well, I just called him Coach, and and Sean is coaching NBA athletes. We spoke, and I think he's coaching like a private person right now for the Lakers or one of those teams out there in California. So I'm just like, God blesses me with like when they're like starting off and then they become these like mega people.
They do. They work their way up and they hone their craft, and that's so important. Um, you had like a good mentor and someone to guide you from an early age on, and protected you and advised you and helped you. And what's curious to me, like you said, you were being offered as a freshman. How like would college coaches be at these meets and see you run at that
That's
age?
that's a good question. And so that again, that's what set Derek apart. Derek track is not a team sport. It is an individualized sport. And Derek was the kind of coach that cared about his athletes. And when I say that, I'm saying he wasn't coaching from a point of obviously if you're a hired coach of let's say like a high school, your goal is for your high school to win the track and field championship. So Derek did everything based off the individual. And so what Derek would do was look for track meets for us. And so like a perfect example, we would go to the Seton Hall Invitational all the time as high school athletes because okay, so that's the difference between track. With track, you can run up, but you can't run down.
Right. Oh my God.
So
Wow.
yeah, so if you choose to be 13, 14, you can run 15, 16 all you want. You
Yeah.
just can't be 15, 16 running 13, 14.
Right. Right.
And so in high
Wow.
school, we were going to college meets. Like he would have us at, I believe it's called the Seton Hall Invitational. And I never forget, it
That's
was,
unbelievable. Wow.
mhm, yeah. And so we were competing against college athletes.
And how would you guys do? How would you fare? I mean, you're running against whenever you're pushed by competition, it makes you better. It usually
Well, we
makes you
won. We won. And
yeah.
that's why we were
You
offered
won.
scholarships.
So
Yeah.
you're beating these college teams, and they're like, "Oh, okay, we got to offer these people." Wow.
So I
So
remember
that
a college coach coming up to my coach. I believe it was like Morgan or Coppin State, something like that. And and that's when we got recruited. It may have not. It may have been 10th grade. I know I wasn't a junior yet because that's when I really started to get offers.
that's amazing.
Um, but they were more impressed by. I remember because our coach didn't believe in coaching us once we got to the meet. Like when we got to the
He
track,
let you do your thing, right?
Yeah, when we
because
got
you had already done the work. I totally get that.
yeah,
You
our
already
coach,
put in the work.
he trained us as such. Like our coach, when we got to the meet, he drove us there and like that was it. Like we saw him when it was time to go.
He left you alone. He let you do
Like
your
if we
thing.
had 3 races, this is what you running today. We knew to go look at what time it was. We knew what heat we were in. Like we were trained.
Yeah.
And so what I
You were like Navy SEALs of track.
for real. And that's what impressed the college coach. So the college coach came up to my coach and said, "How do you get them to do that?" And my coach was like, "What?" And he was like, "I watched it and you didn't have to tell them to warm up. You didn't have to tell them to warm down. You didn't have to tell them anything." So
Yeah.
I guess other coaches they'll go and tell their athletes, "Okay, it's time for you to warm up. It's time for you
Yeah.
to warm down." Like no, we were. I mean, Derek would come and he'd sit in the stand and talk to coaches.
Well,
Like we didn't have to bother our coach, or our coach never had to come to us. Sometimes if we might have had like a cramp or something, he may stretch us out, or he may come and give us a strategy again, depending on who was in the race. But for the most part, and I got offered a scholarship based off of that.
and I'm sure that your practices were probably a lot harder than the meets as well.
Derek's practices were harder than anybody's practice. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I figured.
I had a friend that, like I said, she ran for Clemson University, Kamika, and like I said, people from Auburn. I mean, literally, like any college you name, like Derek is Beth Kearney, all these people that you would know, like all these track and field athletes, they know Derek and they honor Derek. And so these people would come home from training with their college and be like, "Listen, I got to get prepared to go for a Derek practice."
Wow.
Yeah, like man, I'm like, "You practicing with Derek?" They like, "Oh no, I got to get prepared. Like I got to get mentally
I'm
prepared
not ready. Yeah.
for a Derek practice." He didn't play. He didn't play. He was like, you had to have a different kind of mentality to deal with Derek. And
Yeah, he's the Bill Belichick of track.
he was the Bobby Knight of track.
Bobby Knight of track. Okay.
He was the Bobby Knight of track. Like he carried it like that. Like he didn't play with you. And some people from the outside looking in, you would think that his tactics were inappropriate, but we were his girls. So
Yeah, he pushed you to get the best out of you.
he pushed us in very
Yeah.
unorthodox ways.
Yes. Yes.
And
Well, that's what the best do.
it's funny because the work I do here, I was on a Zoom call and I had to apologize and I had to tell them, I said, "Listen, I apologize. Sometimes if I come across a little brass, and I had to tell them that I was coached by like the Bobby Knight of track. So that's the only way I know how to coach people. So like if anything, like if I'm spending energy with you, then it's like I love you. But sometimes it might come off a little bit hard. But that's just how I was.
That's how you got to. That's how you got to coach. You got to develop that mental toughness. You got to develop that physical toughness, and that's what gets you to succeed.
Mhm.
So when did UConn come into the picture? Would you say?
UConn came into the picture. I never forget, and I was Angela Goodman. Angela Goodman was my coach. Angela Goodman, shout out to Angela Goodman and Judy Bokenchus. They were both from Indiana, and I cannot remember this gentleman's name, but he was telling them about me. I got recruited by so many schools.
And did Derek influence that? Did they have contact with Derek before they had contact with you? Like
Everybody had to have contact with my coach before they contacted
that's
me.
what I figured. Okay.
Yeah, I mean they didn't have to. That's the way that I carried it. Like that's my coach.
Exactly.
So what I do know is that I don't know you. He has my
Right.
best interest in mind,
Right.
and so I trust him.
If he gives you, yeah, the stamp of approval.
Yeah, it's funny. I was at church yesterday, and I was talking to like my friend of mine, and I was talking about like my bishop, right? And we were talking about like husbands and stuff, and I was like, "Well, I don't really have to worry about anything because I got a spiritual father right here. So if I'm, you know what I mean, confused about something, here goes my father. He's going to tell me what to do, and I trust him, right? And so it's the same
You're
thing.
right.
Yeah, right. So I don't have to worry about that. Like I'm good. I got a daddy, right? And so it was like that's how Derek was. He was like my. I have a dad. I had a dad. He passed away, but he was my daddy in that world. And so anything that he instructed me to do, I trusted him because I know
Yeah.
that he loved me. You
Yeah.
know, so
Yeah.
that time and energy,
That makes a difference.
it makes a difference. And so, regardless of course, again, I was my own individual. My mother was my mother. My father was my father. But they were persevering and coaching me for 10 years of my life since I was a child. So, you know, so I believe that Derek was Howell University, and he called Coach Goodman. And I wonder how she's doing. But he called Coach Goodman and he said, and he told her about me. And I never forget when she came to see me, I had a mental block and I flopped.
Really?
I flopped at the track meet. Derek was like,
Oh,
here to come see you. And I flopped.
well, that happens. That happens. We all get nervous, and we all have those moments. Bethany would tell me about that. Bethany told me at the Olympic trials, she would always have like one of her worst performances because she would just get in her own head and have so much pressure on her. And it's like I trained for 4 years and it comes down to these three throws. And she said that it was the one thing that she couldn't get over. It was a mental hurdle. So I completely understand.
Shout out to Bethany. Bethany was a machine. I mean, that's all.
I know.
Bethany was a machine. You talk about mental toughness. Bethany was like she was just a machine. Shout out to Bethany.
Well, I do a podcast with her now. We started a
Oh, okay.
podcast, so I'll talk to her. We should definitely have you on her podcast too.
I mean,
Um,
Bethany
she's
was
a.
a machine.
I told her I was terrified of her in college. I swear to God, if I saw her, I walked the other way. Like I saw her lifting weights and how much she was lifting. I was like Jesus. I was scared to death of her.
Okay.
I
And
told her that. Yeah.
Lissa,
Li-
remember Lissa?
Yeah, Lissa, I kind of harassed because I'm a huge WWE fan.
Okay.
So once I found out who her brother was,
Uh-huh.
I kind of was like, can I please go see wrestling with you? And I hounded her about it, and I would talk to her about it. And she took us to a couple shows. And one of the funniest moments was they had a show in Hartford. After the event, we went and hung out with her brother in their hotel room. And her brother had his wrestling gear hanging up. And I was just in full fan mode. And stupidly, I say, "Hey, can I try on your outfit?" And Matt looks at Lissa, and he's like, "Who the hell is this kid?"
Exactly what he would have said.
He's like, "How old are you?" I'm like, "Well, I'm 19." He's like, "Grow up." He's like, "It's entertainment. It's fake, right? We're not really killing each other out there. I mean, it hurts, but Jesus, you want to put on my gear, my sweaty gear that I just wore?" Sorry, my bad. Lissa's
Listen,
like,
Bethany was a machine. I think
"Yep,
that and remind me to go back to the flop and how I got a scholarship. But I just want to talk like briefly about that, like at UConn. Like I was what track did for me is um the relationships.
that's what all sports are. It's about the camaraderie and your teammates."
Yeah, like
Yeah,
I don't know if you remember Ricky from the boys team, Jigsy from like the soccer team. Like it's so many people at UConn that's what I got, and I cannot remember this lady's name, and she is going to kill me because she was there in some moments, and she and I know the moments that we were talking about. She was the coach after Coach Boganchus and Judy left. And I can't remember.
Okay.
Do you remember her? Like she was
No.
really cute. Forgive me if you hear this because, like I said, she was there for me and some. She was there
Yeah.
for me and some like personal moment,
Right.
But like you talking about Matt and like I said, I just literally a couple of hours ago was like, happy birthday, Matt, because that was my family. That was my
Yeah.
family from
Yeah.
Philadelphia. My mom nor my dad had the means for me to be able to go home. And so
Right.
I went,
Oh.
yeah,
So
I was
you
able to
went to Boston or
absolutely.
Peabody where
I
they
was
were
in
from?
Peabody with the Blooms.
We went there too a couple times. She
I
took
was
us out in
listen,
Boston. I loved it there.
I was in Peabody with the Blooms eating at what's it
Great
called?
family.
Lagoons I can't remember where we get the Chinese food and Mr. Mike who hate that I used to call him Mr. Mike and Misty Lane. He'd be like, "Stop calling me that." I'm like, "That's disrespectful in our culture to be calling you Mike and Elaine. I'm not about to do it. I'm calling you Mr.
Absolutely.
Mike." But that was like God literally, thank you, God. God literally placed people in my life, and the Bloom family was
They were
literally
great.
surrogate family for me.
I didn't know that.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
This is technically, and another friend of mine from UConn is technically my daughter's godmom. However,
Oh,
but that's when you're like 23 and you're like, oh, you're gonna be my girl, my daughter godmom, and like the godmom that like never sees your child, like that kind of
well, I
godmom.
mean, she's in Boston. I mean, I get it.
No, I'm just
No,
kidding. But no,
I
listen, Marissa are still those are those type of friends that you don't have to talk to in 20 years, but those are your best friends.
yeah, that you
So
no,
yeah,
nothing
Marissa are my
changes.
best friends. Yeah, from UConn. But the Blooms, like Lissa, we would go to track meets, and it was me, Lissa, and Marissa. That was us.
Yeah.
And Louise.
Yeah.
You remember
Yeah.
Louise?
Yes.
Yeah. So true story
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
UConn. When I first go there, they put me in McMahon Hall
Of course.
because
That's
that's
for
where all the track
freshmen.
dudes is at. And Lissa and Louise are my roommates. And Louise says, I got a cat named Keisha. And I'm like, what? And Lissa says, I got a dog named Keisha. I'm like, what? Like true story.
Oh my God.
Like that's how like tedious God is. But
Connected you were. Yeah.
yeah, I got moved though. I moved like across the street from Watson.
Well, I thought Lissa ended up in Hilltop with me eventually because I remember seeing
No,
her
it
as a
wasn't
sophomore.
again. What's the one that was by Huskies?
Oh, that was Hale and Ellsworth at Hilltop or
I was at
alumni.
Hilltop. I was at Hilltop at first.
Yeah, yeah, that's where she was.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I was at Hilltop like for like a day or
Yeah.
two.
So yeah, you were right by me. I was on the 7th floor. I think they were on the 5th floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I got moved to like outside where nobody was at across the street from Watson.
Oh, you got moved all the way.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, the Blooms were like, so I say that to say that like Lisa and I, like confessions right now, Mr. Mike might hear this for the first time. We were like, oh, we good because you know how it is. The basketball players had the good per diem. We had like the little $8 meal per diem.
We got the $20. Yeah.
We were like, it's okay, Mr. Mike is there. Like Mr. Mike gonna take care of us. Listen, but like, it's okay, my dad is there. Like we knew we were good, and so yes, that was my like home away from home. Obviously, Matt had started playing for the WWF, and like we were just, it was like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, my brother's Prince Albert, yeah,
Yeah, Prince Albert, the A Train. Yep.
yeah. Then I remember going to the wedding, and I was like, "They're gonna Undertaker."
Yes. Oh, I'll tell you a story about him too. I was similar with if you remember Uwe
Yeah,
Sunday and Terry McLaury,
yeah.
Rashad Drayton. So the guys that kind of couldn't go home for Easter or whatever, Thanksgiving, I would have them at my house. So, like, I'd have 5 or 6 of the guys that would always come for Easter. Easter was the big one. And I remember there'd just be bodies laying all over my parents' house. And we would have a huge Easter dinner, and my roommate, we moved to Hilltop Apartments, and I lived with Big O, Lawrence Oliver. I don't know if you remember him.
Mm-hmm.
And so Lawrence Oliver for Easter was got up. We were all hungover. Got up and was helping my mother cook Easter dinner for everyone. And Rashad was a Muslim, so he couldn't eat ham. So they got turkey, and I think Mom made lasagna for him. And then Big O, Lawrence, was teaching my mother how to make like real Southern macaroni and cheese, like how to bake it and everything. And my mom's like trying to write it down and make it with him. And I'm sitting in there and I'm watching this. I'm like, they're really doing this. He's cooking with my mother for Easter. But I used to do the same thing. Like after games, the guys whose parents couldn't travel to the home games, we would take them out to dinner after the games. Because I mean, that's just what we did. That was the camaraderie we had. And I always felt, UConn was a jock school. I mean, all the athletes
absolutely
really supported each other, and it wasn't like cliquey. I felt we all kind of hung out together.
We did. It's funny
we all partied together.
I can't remember who was the girl that played basketball. She was like thick, but she could shoot. She was
Maria. Maria Conlon. She was like
Oklahoma or something, because I remember I'm like, what is this white girl doing making these potatoes like this? Like she can cook, and she was like, I'm from Oklahoma. She can. That's funny going to UConn.
Stacy Hansmeyer. Stacy Hansmeyer.
She brought some food, and I was like,
Bam Bam. Her name was Bam Bam. That was her nickname. Yes.
So when you said that, I was like, she was like, I know how to cook, and I'm like, yes, girl. You cook like because I was like, you cook like my grandma, and she was like,
yeah,
but she
had that accent, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that funny? Like the white girl that could shoot at UConn, like
yes,
everybody, like
yeah. Well, that's what I always used to do because on Valentine's Day, I would always have the entire at our apartment. Because my roommate was Mike Woodward, who was dating Ashley Valley, who was on the girls' basketball team, and they ended up getting married.
Yeah.
And Morgan Valley is now an assistant coach at UConn.
Okay.
So I would always cook a big dinner on Valentine's Day for the girls' basketball team. They would come to our apartment. All I knew how to cook was pasta. I would make a great pasta sauce. I love my pasta sauce. So we'd have pasta. I'd make meatballs, garlic bread, and salad, and we'd have all the girls over. And I was friendly. Like I knew Maria Conlon very well. I was friends with her. I was friends with Dee. I was friends with Sue. I was sort of friends with Swin Cash. I almost broke her nose, but other than that. Because they used to have the guys practice against the girls during, they'd have the guys practice with the girls to make them better. And I wasn't a good basketball player, and I don't even know how I got in, but I got in. And within 5 minutes, I fouled the crap out of Swin Cash. And Swin Cash, one of the star players.
That team that you're talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know how everybody, but that particular group, like Swin, Tamika, all of them, D.
Asia Jones, yep.
Yeah, they were all like, I feel like they was like the coolest group ever.
Oh, they were so much fun.
It's like you said,
so much fun.
Like, it's a jock school. We all supported each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was never like a rivalry type thing. Like,
no.
We all supported each other, and
we always partied with them. We always partied together.
We always partied, So people people think and like I don't really talk a lot about it, Like if I see D playing, like D still feisty, or
Oh yeah, I love D. I love D.
I'm like, oh, that's my homegirl, and like so people like be thinking I'm lying or something. I'm like, like.
I'm like, I got her number in my phone. Like I can show that. Like I can text her. It's like, but yeah, I loved that D like was giving Caitlin Clark a hard time early on because like I always felt bad because, and I do a podcast with Maria Conlon as well.
Mm-hmm. How many?
And
Hold on now, Steve. How many podcasts you doing?
I did do about 10.
That's what's up. I need to start a podcast.
That's my career. Oh, that's my career now. Yeah, I do.
Podcast.
I do. I'd probably do 3 to 4 Husky talks a week.
Okay.
I do a podcast with Maria Conlon that does. We cover women's basketball, and now she's a head coach at Western Connecticut State.
Yeah.
I do a podcast called Husky Huddle, where we cover the UConn football team. We recap the game that they played and preview the opponent they're playing the following week. We just started Husky Hoops, where we're going to cover the men's team. I have a host, and I also host with Joe D'Ambrosia, who is the voice of the UConn Huskies. He used to cover all the basketball games, all the football games. So we got him involved, and I work with Dave Schumann is my partner, and he's a former UConn football player, but he got into running football camps. He ran them all over the country, and now he's a content creator. So his YouTube channel, which
he was there when we were there, right?
Yeah, he his last year was when you and I were freshmen, I believe. Yeah,
he kind of looks like Asian, Spanish, or something like.
You're right. He's part. He is. He's part. He's part Asian. I can't remember if it's Taiwanese or Filipino, but yes, he is part that, and he's also like part Jewish. He's a mix of everything. But he has a YouTube channel that has 1 million subscribers. So I had him on Husky Talk as a guest. And once I saw that, he had been doing this for a while, he actually gets paid by YouTube. I asked him just like, hey, if you could help me out and put my shows on your YouTube channel, that would definitely help my listenership and viewership. And he said, yeah, no problem. And we had such a good chemistry together because we're funny and we are entertaining. So after that, we started doing shows together, and our shows are funny. I think we do 4 shows together. We do Husky Huddle, we do Husky Hoops, we do Money Line. I think we do one other, but it's a blast doing shows with him. But he went out of his way to help me, who he didn't know, and added. I'm sure he's had people that have asked him, can I put my content on your channel? But he said, yeah, I'll put your content on my channel, no problem. And it's grown and grown, and now we're at the point we're getting a marketing agency, and we're trying to get bigger sponsors to keep this thing rolling so we can make the bigger money. Like, if you look at the numbers, it's unbelievable. Like, in the last 30 days, our content has gotten 60 million views.
Praise God. Thank you, God.
It's bigger. Yeah. It's bigger than the Kelsey Brothers podcast. It's bigger than Barstool. Like, it's crazy. Yeah. So that's why.
Just refresh my memory.
Travis Kelsey and Jason Kelsey, the one who dates Taylor Swift.
Yeah. I'm an Eagles fan. Hold on. Let me see if you can.
Yeah. Jason Kelsey played for the Eagles. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. That's him. That's him there. Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, that's that Huskies.
Yeah.
I play with the Huskies. I tell people that all the time. Like, people, like, I'm in Virginia and everybody cheers for Dallas, and I'm an Eagles fan. I'm like,
yeah,
I'm from Philly. Why are you cheering for Dallas?
I know.
For the Huskies.
That's how they are.
For real Husky.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I'm the same way. I'm the same way.
Husky in real life.
And I wasn't as invested in the football team until this year when we started covering it. And then Mike Burton was there my freshman year.
I remember
And
that name too.
well, Burton is the family that built the football facility. We
Okay.
had the first indoor football facility. The Burton family is very wealthy, very well known. Mike is an incredible businessman, and he's taken over the business and done a phenomenal job. But he got involved with our NIL collective, Bleeding Blue for Good. And, we didn't have that before. So that's why we struggled for so many years. Now that we've raised some money, we've been able to bring talent in and pay them. And he does it the right way. He puts them all under contract,
Okay.
so they know their expectations. He has them have representation to go over the contract with them, and they sign them year to year. And the one thing about UConn, they have not missed a payment on any of the kids that they owe money to.
Oh, really?
Um,
UConn.
yeah, and I mean, and they don't pay a ton of kids because we don't have the funding yet. That's why I'm pushing it now. We're trying to raise money for Bleeding Blue for Good for football, because we have to keep the players that we have, because then there's some talent that Clemson could come in and offer, hey, we'll give you $1 million, come play for us. So there's a month before the transfer portal opens, and that's when kids can leave and go to wherever they want. So if anyone comes in and offers some of our top players more money, they can leave. So I'm trying to help Mike raise money for Bleeding Blue. So we have that, so we can keep the kids we have and then bring in the talent we need to get to the next level. Like, if you told me at this time that we would have 7 wins, I wouldn't have believed it in a second in July. Like, I didn't think we were going to be that good. But we have 2 games left. Syracuse, which will be tough, and then we have UMass. So realistically,
UMass.
UMass is not good, but
Oh,
yeah, they're not good. So we
Syracuse is
should.
gonna be tough, but we got UMass.
Syracuse is going to be tough, yes, but we got UMass. But an 8-win season, combined with the success of the men's and women's basketball team, I know track's doing well. I know baseball has done well. Hockey's moved up. Volleyball's done well. Like, when I went back to campus, I went back to a couple games. Um, Campus was unrecognizable. They have so many
I would say
amazing
so.
facilities.
My roommate, she wasn't an athlete, so you probably don't know her. Shout out to Erin Behringer, Post now, but she's like, Keisha, you had her and Audra. You probably know Audra because her mom was Miss Walina from the African American.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes.
They are like,
I know
Keisha, you
Audra.
have to see UConn's campus. Like, you're not going to recognize it. I want
When's the last time you were back?
probably like I
20
came to
years.
homecoming like 3 years after I graduated, so like
Yeah.
2005.
Yeah. You won't recognize it, because that was like the same time. The last time I went back, I think, was 2008, 2009. So I go back, it's unrecognizable.
Is
They
Husky
had
still there?
Huskies moved. Huskies is downtown now. There's like a downtown on
What do you mean
campus.
downtown?
Like, there's a main street, and there's bars, there's restaurants, there's shops. Like, the campus is unrecognizable.
It's a downtown on campus.
There's a downtown on campus. Yes.
So where is
Yes.
it at? Like where Civic Pub used to be? Like where? Where's
Yes. I
it
think I think see, I can't even tell you where, because I don't recognize exactly where it is. But there's like a nice downtown area with restaurants. There's hotels. They've really transformed,
at?
and they're
Okay,
still building. They built more housing. It's just been amazing to see how it has grown.
is any of
Um,
our dorms still there? Like does McMahon exist?
yeah, yes, yes. The dorms are still there.
Like,
They've built more. They built more because I think they're up to 25,000 kids that go there now. When
Let
we
me
went,
guess. The place where y'all used to go cow tipping, does that exist or that farm is gone?
yeah,
Like all
that's
the
still
people.
there. That's
Oh,
still
the
there.
farm is still
Yeah. X lot and the farm is still there.
there? X
Yes.
lot. You got to park at X lot. Like, come on, man.
Yes. 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 But there's a basketball facility, which is where the old football stadium used to be. The basketball facility I got a tour of because Chris Saitis is the head equipment director for basketball for men's and women's. So I got a special tour, which I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying on here, but Chris is used to it. He gave me a tour, and I saw it in there's two basketball courts. There's two training rooms for the men and the women. There's a dining hall. There's a study area. There's a lounge area. It's just amazing how great it looks. There's a volleyball facility, a facility just straight for volleyball. There's a facility for hockey. There's a
Oh,
facility for baseball.
I used to
And
love the
then
hockey guys.
I did. The hockey guys were fun.
They
The hockey
they
guys
just
were
I
nuts.
love them. They just walked around with like broke teeth and stuff.
Yeah, they were crazy. They were nuts.
They was
The
dangerous.
hockey guys and the rugby guys were crazy.
I ain't
And
know
that
rugby guys. I just knew the hockey guy. I
I
did
didn't
know a big
either.
rugby guy, just one big rugby guy that used to like.
Well, that's Sean. That's who I think you're thinking of.
He was like,
Sean. Yes, Sean was the big rugby guy that looked
yeah,
like a football player.
exactly.
And he's one of my sponsors. He runs
Oh,
Procyon Partners. But yeah, that he was the big dude, and he was always cool and fun to hang out with. But he does really well now, and we're trying to increase alumni engagement because that's the one thing that we don't really have a ton of, like especially with football. We don't have the alumni engagement that some of the other sports do. Like I know volleyball, the entire 1998 team and 1994 team got honored because they won the first Big East championships in volleyball history. And they had like 50 girls go back with families, and they were invited. And they paid for the hotel and put on a great spread for them, and they honored them before the games. So I thought that was so cool. But the campus is unrecognizable if you see it.
Trying to go
The
in
new
my
facilities.
Rolodex of like people that are doing well, and I'm sure you're connected to them. That I mean, I'm sure when I look at them on Facebook, they're always there. So I'm sure like if they're
Well,
giving,
that was a surprise. Like I was surprised that our alumni group is as successful as they are, because you don't think you don't think you're going to have super successful alumni, but we have that. We have guys like Matt Newsy, who was a football player. He's a kicker. He's the number one Remax real estate agent in the state of Connecticut.
okay,
Sean Rabinowitz started his own company, Procyon Partners. They're they're one of the top 50 fastest growing companies in the country
okay.
because of the money they manage. They do wealth management, they do retirement planning, they do all that stuff. So it's just great and I talked to Tommy Collins, another football player. He
I
does
remember
wealth
that name.
management. Yep. Tommy works down on Wall Street.
Okay.
Uh, Greg Vicdomino works down on Wall Street. So like we have alumni that are doing so well, and
What's
I
the big
never would
guy's
have.
name? The big guy that I feel like he was part of Pike. Brock, Broth. What's his name?
Brock,
Brock. How's he doing?
Brock.
I don't know when you just said like the big guy. I thought about him. He used to be with Ronald Jump, I believe. Like,
Are
but how
you
you
trying?
know?
Are you trying to Cornell Brockington? Is that what you're thinking
I
of?
don't.
Are you
I
thinking
just
of
know his name Brock.
Razul?
He was huge.
Razul, okay. Do you
No,
remember
he's
what year?
Razul. I know Razul. He and Kafi are together.
We're
But
together.
okay, they're no longer together. Okay,
Yeah.
but
What year do you think you're thinking of?
When you said Brock, I just automatically I'm picturing him right now. He was big, huge, like
Was
Brock. Maybe his name
black
was
guy?
White, White, like real big. I feel like he was part of.
Okay.
I feel like he was part of Pike. I don't know why I keep on remembering him with Jump.
Is Pike fraternity?
Pike was a fraternity. It was Jake. It was Jake Voscow. Remember the player from Texas?
Yes.
Jump. And I feel like Brock was part of it, but maybe
Well, jump. Right.
yeah.
Right. It may have been before me, but I will find out. I will find out. It doesn't ring a bell right off the bat, but I'm
Speaking
sure
of sponsors for football, I want to give a shout out to my teammate Trisha, who kept track alive. Because
she
if it
saved the
wasn't,
track program.
she
Yeah.
literally saved the track program. And obviously she's doing well in her.
And she built the student center. Yep.
Oh, she built the student center.
Yeah, she built the student center and saved the track program. She donated quite a bit of money. And I did, if you look back, I did a show with her. I got her on a podcast.
I'll look
And
back.
I was a nervous wreck.
Why?
Well, first of all, I'm nervous talking to women.
Okay.
Whenever I interview girls, women, I'm nervous. I'm
That's
just
cute.
nervous. I'm shy. I'm nervous around women. Now I'm interviewing a billionaire and I read her memoir, and I read about her life and the struggles that she went through and the trauma that she endured. And like I was in tears over it, and how she pulled herself up from her bootstraps and took a chance. She wanted to be a teacher. Her mother said, "You're not going to be a teacher because you're not gonna make enough money. There's better things out there for you, and you don't have the patience or whatever, something like that." So she goes and she works on Wall Street and kills it. She takes a job in California and killing it. Financial planning, whatever. And I think it was financial planning, wealth management. She got a promotion to be vice president. So she was having lunch with the president, and they're just sitting there, they're talking. And the president comes out and basically says, "Oh, gee, I didn't know you were black." And I'm like, "Wow, that's pretty bold." And she was like, "Yep." And then as soon as he said that, the next month, like, he never approved any of her requests, anything like she wanted to do with clients, any like investments she wanted to make. He declined everything. So the man clearly, allegedly, had some racist tendencies. So that's when she decided to leave and go off on her own and start her own business. And she started the medical supplies company, which was her first business.
I'm familiar with that part of it. And so I kind of started getting back familiar. I think like when she was starting, like I saw like when she was doing like the Bailey pharmacy and like
Yes.
she was
Yep.
doing well. And then I started like following her. And then, like, so Lissa and Marissa and I are like, yo, like, what's up? Can we call Trish? But we not Joe. Like, she was our.
I got her assistant's number. I worked through her assistant, and that was scary. Like,
We had text. For me, I'm in awe of God, right?
yeah. Right.
But it is dope to, like, I have a friend who is about to buy a plane, and and quite similar to Trisha.
Yes.
When you she's not a billionaire yet. She's just became like a multi-millionaire, but she's looking into
Right.
Spain. But my point is similar to Trisha, because people always have like these stories, right? But when you actually know somebody and like that they really got it out the mud, it resonates with you a little bit different.
It did with me. It
Yeah,
really did with
you were
me.
like her teammate, and she used to be with like Tamika and Kathy and like their friend group. Like I said, like we were all teammates, but we had different pockets. Lissa and Marissa was my pocket.
Right.
And seeing like the gentleman she was with at that time, and and like, and so in other words, knowing that she really didn't have a silver spoon, and now she is
Never.
a
Yeah.
billionaire,
She
so
worked. She worked her way,
she works her way up, and so that's,
earned every step.
yeah, that's the awesome part about it. And all glory to the Most High God. Same thing with my homegirl that is looking into buying a plane with her husband. It's like, I remember when you was on food stamps. Like that's dope, because like you really
Yeah.
was on food stamps. Like you really
That's
was
the American dream.
substitute teaching. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the American dream.
yeah.
And I was so nervous interviewing her. I was so nervous. I did the best I could, and it came out pretty well. But yeah, if you get a chance, check it out.
I'm gonna check it
It's
out. Look
so
at you. You just
it
like you're talking about. You just said that you have more streams than Barstool Sports. Hello,
not
and
me. It's the channel. I contribute, but yes,
channel. What's the channel?
Coach Schumann. If you go to YouTube, look up Coach Schumann,
Coach
and
Schumann
then
got
yeah,
more
look at
streams
his
than
channel.
Barstool Sports. Coach
Yeah,
Schumann got more streams than the Kelsey brothers. Shout out
yep.
to the Kelsey brothers. You got an Eagle fan right here. You know what I mean?
I love Jason Kelsey.
I love Kansas City, because if you're an Eagle fan, like you have respect for Andy Reid.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, huge respect
you just
for
have
the work
respect
he
for
put
him.
in. And
Yeah.
Philadelphia cut him loose, and he goes to KC, and he's won 3 championships, and they're undefeated this year. I mean,
And
you can't argue with that.
also, and then you gotta love it, because I don't have to get like custom hats. I have hats that are like made with my logo on it. You
Yes,
know what I
that's
mean?
great.
Like
Yeah.
the Chiefs, and then the Royals, Kansas City Royals, Kansas. Like God just, yeah. So send me all your stuff, Kansas City, and send me your stuff, Royals. Like KC, there we go.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's funny how it worked out. That's
I
funny
tell
how it
you,
worked out. I had
it's
no
funny
idea
to
that you were
me that you
Caboom.
said that when you were like that. Trisha said the guy was like, "Oh, you're black." I was doing some. I do like a lot of
I
advocacy.
I was just like like my eyes wide, and like the guy actually said that to you at a lunch. Like, oh, I didn't know you were black. Like,
It's all
and
right.
I'm sure he got promoted because of it. They're like the people like that, they just promote them. They get them out of there. And I'm so happy that she got out of that. But I can't imagine, you're the number one rep bringing in the most money. You get a promotion, and you're so excited about it. You're having lunch with the president, and the president says something so disgusting and disrespectful and quite frankly racist. I, and she handled it with grace, and she saw the tea leaves when he started not approving any of her requests, and she said, I'm going to go out on my own. And she said, I have not made a bad business decision, because I am a strategic thinker. I think 10 steps ahead, and I can think on my feet. I can think on my feet, and I can always adjust. And that's what's made her successful. And she has the best attitude of anyone I've ever met. Just the positivity that she has. Because I'm not positive. I don't have that positivity. She does, and I wish I could have that. And I can see how it makes a difference when you
You know
get
what?
up every day.
This is the thing. You can shift to it, because we all
You
go through
can.
something. I've been through a lot, and you it's a, like you said, you can, like, it's just something that you have to work on. It's something that
It
you have
is.
to work on. It was a point in my life where I was like, you know how they say hurt people.
Yeah.
And so, people say, I'm positive, and so you can shift to that positive person, Steve. And you can shift to, I mean, you just said something like you can walk in that and like own that. Like, that's not something small.
No.
It's not
No.
something small in terms of like the streaming platform that you're on. I love the fact that you invite what is considered like everyday people.
They're not everyday people. You're a
I feel
UConn
like I'm
alum.
an
You're
everyday
family.
person.
You're
Oh yeah,
you're
we're family,
family.
but so much emphasis is like placed on like so much
I
emphasis
know
is like
the
placed on like celebrities
the
and like
status. Yeah,
I could get into like this whole thing, and like I feel like that's why the world is messed up because we have so much emphasis placed on like
we
these
do.
people that control our value system as opposed to the mass of the world, which is like everyday people. And so if we
Exactly.
start to focus on everyday people and not with like the people want us to focus on, which is like who they put for us to focus on, then I
Yeah.
think we'll get humanity back. But I feel like it's
Yeah.
kind of like all track, but like we're here, and so we can control like humanity and it remaining on track.
Yeah, and that's what we need. That's so important. And it's important to think for yourself. It's important to be a critical thinker. It's important to have your own views. It's important not to go off of a celebrity or what somebody else thinks or says just because of who they are. They're people too, just
They are
like we are. They're no different. Their bank accounts may be different, but they're no different. And
yeah.
that's how I feel. And that's why, like,
Kind of like a walk in love. It's funny you say that in terms of the bank accounts. I was reading something about Bob Marley. I love Bob Marley. I listen to Bob Marley a lot. And he was saying that some people are so poor that all they have is their bank accounts. No, all they have is money.
that's true.
And so
Because
don't get it twisted. I love money, but it gets back to like what you're saying in terms of like us just like focusing on like love and humanity.
yes, yes. I
Yeah.
can tell you a good friend of mine, her name is Kelly. She's a counselor, LMHC, and she does God's work. She works with some of the toughest cases, trauma victims, PTSD, autistic kids, and she doesn't she feels like at times that she isn't where she's supposed to be because of her bank account. And I said, you're one of the best people I know because you make a difference every day in people's lives. You have clients that come in with problems, and you face them head on, and you put together plans for them, and you see them and you care about them, and you'll give them your number, and you'll be there for them 24/7 because that's just the type of person you are. And she just has some concerns because she doesn't make as much money as she would have expected or she would have wanted. And I'm like, you're gonna get there. You're gonna get there because um, the work that you're doing is more important than most people. Most people don't make an impact. Most people don't change other people's lives. And for you to go in and take on the clients that you do, and the happiest time is when they come to see you because they know that you're going to listen, they know that you're going to help them, and they know that you care about them. And I said, you're one of the best people I know, and I truly believe that.
I
It's,
love that word, impact.
yeah, you're making an impact, you're making a difference on their lives.
Yeah, she's the kind of person, and you know, people sometimes say this about me, but like you make the world go round. And my
Yeah.
friend gave me a quote, and I can't remember. It's one of my favorite things that she had said to me, but it's like people like you are like what makes like the world go round, you
It
know.
is.
And
It
so
is because 90% of us are selfish. 90% of
you
us
think so?
90% of us talk and don't listen. If you just listen to people, ask people how they're doing, show that you care, that genuinely, sincerely care and want to listen to them. How was your day? What did you do? Tell me how you're feeling. I think that's missing. And because like I said, anyone can talk, nobody listens. And if we had
Hmm.
more people that just listened and had a little more compassion and empathy for others, the world would probably be a better place. And
It's going to be a better place.
that's what I give her credit for, because she's been there for me during the tough times that I had. She never gave up on me. She never left me alone. She knew when I was struggling, and she refused to let me struggle and refused to let me be alone during that time. She always came through. So I just give her all the credit in the world for that. And the money really doesn't matter. It's just the type of person that you are. And when you have that quality and that greatness of being just a caring, loving, empathetic, kind person, I think that means more than any dollar amount. It's invaluable.
I love that word, invaluable.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. It's your, it's your podcast. I'm not supposed to be going on diatribes, but
I do want to say something though in terms of you having women's basketball, because I just wouldn't be down here. People call me. You guys know Keisha.
yeah.
Some people know Keisha Cummings, and down here a lot of people call me Miss Keisha. But I would be Miss Keisha if I didn't tell you. This is just getting back to like me, kind of like being a plug, and you talked about UConn women's basketball and football. I do want you guys to know that in the city of Richmond, we have like 3 undefeated teams. So y'all can look at the football players here. We got football players here. Y'all might, want to start recruiting in Richmond. And we have
I
Tamani
know.
Harris, who is a beast. Steve, come to Richmond. Like we have great football teams that were like undefeated. Like, so people don't recruit. I'm just telling you guys, like, look in Richmond. There's some games coming up this weekend. And it's a young lady here named Tamani Harris. I believe that UConn had like a star player from Richmond. I can't remember her because this was like a couple of years ago when I wasn't like
Right.
We had like a player from here. She might be a Husky now. I don't know her name, but Tamani Harris is a beast on the basketball court. So
I'll check the roster. Yeah.
Tamani Harris is a beast on the basketball court. But
no, I know. We for football, we signed the number 1 quarterback in Virginia to come to UConn for this upcoming freshman class.
Yay! Okay,
so
y'all do got your eyes on VA.
Okay. They need to. Like, Coach Mora has done a fantastic job, but I don't think, like, we have resources that he hasn't used. Like Dave Schumann, the guy that I partner with, he ran football camps, recruiting camps for years. He knows all the high school coaches in New Jersey. He has a recruiting program for top college athletes. And like, they could use him to get connected and at least get their foot in the door with some of the top college prospects in New Jersey. And they haven't done that. We have Dave DeArmas, who's a coach and a principal in Virginia. Same thing. He knows all the coaches, all the top players in the area. And we don't use that as a resource. I think if we do that, that will also make an impact. But just briefly, just tell me your career at UConn. How did that turn out for you?
My track career?
Yeah.
Woo. All right. So
I didn't even get to that.
So this is the thing. When I graduated high school when I was 17. And
so you were young. Okay.
I was young, and everybody that I had kind of like started off with no longer ran. And so when you've been running, I didn't run club track.
Yeah.
I ran all year round. Like, I did indoor, outdoor, cross country. And so by the time
you did cross country at UConn?
No, I did cross country since I was 7 years old with the Flames and Derek.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
I did cross country at UConn too, though.
So you were like a 3-sport. You did cross country, indoor and outdoor track.
Everybody that does the 800 and above has to do cross country.
God
Yeah,
bless.
like all of us did. Trisha,
There's no off season.
Louise, like we all had
Oh
to.
my God.
I remember even like Ricky. Ricky was a sprinter for what was his name, Coach Greg, the guys.
I don't know the men's coach.
He was
No.
like famous, like he was a famous coach. But I remember like he had his sprinters running like cross country with us. So
Okay.
cross country is like cross country for track athletes is kind of like track is for like football athletes. Like you know how football dudes will run track just because like they don't have intentions to be track athletes.
Yeah. Laban Marsh is. I do a podcast.
Laban, shout out to Laban.
Laban's my podcast after you.
Hey, you tell him I said hello.
I will. He'll be
Yo,
excited.
this is God is just listen. When I say happy birthday to Matt, I'm trying to text and Laban's like, happy birthday, Matt. So
Yes.
Laban said happy birthday, and you're saying that Laban is the next person with his little bow leg stuff. I feel like Laban did the pole vault, right?
He did the pole vault and he won the 60 or the 100 at Big East Championship.
Laban is from. I think they're both from Pennsylvania. Is Laban from Pennsylvania?
Yep. Erie, PA. Yep.
Erie, PA. So the whole point is, let me finish. The whole point is that once I got to like 16 years old, and all my friends, like my friend that I told you about, everybody had stopped running. And I was like, okay. I'm done. I'm not running track no more. Like I'm done. I'm tired. We were, it wasn't a club. Like some people don't get tired. And my mom was like, well, I guess you're not going to college. Because that's the only way that you're going to college.
Well, because of the scout, right? Yeah,
it was a scholarship. So I say that to say, like, not to make excuses. It is what it is. But some people might start in like middle school or high school. Like, let's say like a Audra or something, for example, and they track is like they're like beamed and focused. I wasn't like that athlete. I was like and I'm being honest, I was that athlete that knew like that I had to run in order to go to school.
The next level, yeah.
Not even the next level. I didn't have a desire to like go to the Olympics or like
right.
It was a means. It was a vehicle for me to go to school.
To get your education.
To get my education. And that's why I think that so I had that experience of like I have like children and they have the ability to either be or kids that I serve, because I serve like thousands of children, and what I do, they have the ability to go to school in an academic scholarship or a track scholarship.
Right.
So I know the importance of athletic scholarships, right? But I try to tell people that like when you and this will come full circle to what you're saying in terms of like, I guess like the ability to be able to pay athletes now. Track is not in there because we don't generate money for schools like how basketball and football players do. But
you got to throw it in my face now, huh?
We don't generate money like that, but
I know.
To like like you're kind of like you got to do what they tell you to do. Like you know what I mean? Like,
it's tough. Yeah.
Yeah, we control you. Like, you know what I mean?
They own you.
They own you.
Like, that's what Tommy Collins said that to me.
They own you.
My second day, my freshman, when we came in as freshmen, he's like, I realized they own my life for the next 5 years.
They do.
I'm thinking, oh my God, they really do. Like, you do anything wrong, it's like you're gone. Yeah. So it's stressful.
Yeah, and so when you hear like, oh, Bethany was on there, I'm like, sugar honey iced tea. I didn't go to the Olympics like Bethany. I kind of track was my vehicle to be able to go to school, and that's why I have her facing here, and that's why I'm grateful for my coach after Judy Bogan-Schutz, because I went through a whole lot.
I'm sure you did.
That she knows about,
that she worked through with you, and that's. Let me tell you, I also do a podcast with Chris Bellamy. It's called. Yeah, he's brilliant. He's amazing. It's called A Husky's Health.
Okay.
But he also does a podcast called All Black Men Need Therapy, and it's about mental health and how especially black men, won't ask for help. They think they can work through it. And we just talk and share stories how we've all struggled with mental health issues, but we all think we can push through. And it's we're not proactive about it. We always wait till it's too late instead of being proactive and asking for help because there's such a stigma around it. So we try to show that the pressure that these kids face, with the money, the unrealistic expectations, the coaches, the parents, it just makes it difficult. So we try to tell them that Bellamy's line is it's okay not to be okay. And him and his group go to colleges and they speak at colleges to kids about it. That's how great he's doing now with it.
I love that. I would love to be on that podcast. That's what before I
You're more than welcome to come on the next time.
I serve. My concentration has shifted, but for like years, that is what I served is Black boys from marginalized communities.
Oh, okay. That's huge.
I'm going to send you an article, and you could kind of, because we really didn't talk about what I do, but
that's what I was going to ask what you did afterwards.
Okay. But I think that is so. First of all, us as humans need therapy.
We do.
Yeah, but a strong emphasis on I serve Black boys and Black men,
yes,
for marginalized communities, and they deal with so much, and it's such a stigma. We could definitely talk about this. It's such a stigma.
Laban says he loves you, by the way.
I love you, Laban. It's such a stigma on therapy. It's funny that we're on this show. The first time that I got therapy was at UConn. And I remember going home to my family saying, I'm going to see a therapist. And they were like, you went up there with them white people and they told you it was something wrong. And I'm like, but it is something wrong. Like we all coming, we got a household, you know what I mean? But it's
good you recognize
stigma on like therapy, because like you're brought up like you better not say nothing going up in your house. We'll go up in this house, stay up in this house. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's just, honestly, like just what's going on in the world right now, everybody needs some type of therapy. My therapy is reading the Bible or going to church, but what's going on right now? We all need some. The first
we do.
God,
yeah, we do.
But we need some type of therapy. But yeah, I love that. I would love to come on that show. That is like my specialty. And I'm a QMHP, like you talked about your friend being she's a licensed mental health counselor. That's what a LMHC stands for.
Yes.
Qualified mental health professional, A and B.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, so okay. So is that
Mary Alice Newbeck from UConn? She was the
head. Is that similar?
It is. Is that so? Okay. She probably is like a master's, and so she's like a licensed counselor. So like me, I'm a couple of classes from like
she has her master's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. And Mary Alice Newbeck is the one who because when I went to UConn, I was like a political science major, and then I switched to HDFR.
Yeah.
And I went there to study anthropology, and I was like, what can I do with anthropology? Because I love people. So I was like, oh, you get to study people. I love this. Like, thank you, God. And then I was like, what can I do? And they were like, oh, you could write a book or like.
HDFS or HDFR. It doesn't lead you anywhere. You have to get a master's. You have to. It's basically we used to call it.
I couldn't go anywhere with anthropology.
That either. Yeah, we basically called it majoring in graduation. Like I majored
don't talk about my degree, Steve. That was my degree.
No, I'm talking about mine. I'm talking about sociology. I majored in, which we called majoring in graduation.
Listen, that's what all the athletes was doing.
I know.
All the athletes. That's one thing about it. Like you was an athlete. I'm like, oh, we got a test. All right, y'all got the. You went to certain classes, like you knew certain classes. You like, oh, that's
I plead the fifth on that. The tutors that we had, no, but it would be funny because like they would tell you when you were being recruited, like some guys wanted to do engineering, some guys wanted to do chemistry or whatever. And then when you get there and you meet with your counselor, they tell you, no, you're not going to be able to be an engineering major. No, you're not going to be able to be a chem major. There's no time. You're not. You can't. You won't make all the classes. It's too much work.
It's too much.
You'll never be able to play football and do it.
Yeah,
So
and that's the point of what I was saying in terms of like, when you're an athlete, like
yeah. And you were doing 3 sports, so I can't even imagine.
Well, track is just track, like, you know.
Like, I know. Yeah.
Other people got the opportunity, like I said, to go home. I went to either Boston with Keena, or I was in. But yeah, the Blooms were definitely my surrogate family, and Marissa's family in Pawtucket, Rhode Island.
So tell me what you do now. So
I live out love. This is my logo.
Oh, that's your company.
That is my company. And to love. Yep, it's to love everyone, okay. Your race, socioeconomic status, or background.
Oh, okay, great. So I can put that in the show notes to promote you on the website. I can put your website in our show notes to promote you.
Oh, that's the thing. The website
That'll be huge.
Steve, we're under construction. And okay. I tried to hold everything off because I was like, I want everything to be together, but it's under construction. But
good.
The premise of my company is to live out love, and you kind of touched on it. A lot of people talk it, but they don't live it.
They don't.
And so what I do is, like, I have so many different examples, Steve, of actually like how you live out love, how we bring love back to humanity, you know, like how we, you know, treat people as like humans, because and just FYI, if anyone wants to support my efforts, this is my cash app, to love everyone.
Okay, I'll put that on there as well.
That's what I do. I believe in like loving everyone in spite of their coming from.
I'll put that.
Yeah, coming from Philadelphia, Steve, and going to coming from Philadelphia, Steve, and going to University of Connecticut, and living in places like Boston and Massachusetts, and then coming down to Richmond. I've been in Richmond for the last 20 years. It was a eye-opening experience for me.
I can imagine it was quite the transition.
It was quite the transition, and it allowed me to, you know how when you go through stuff and you never see the rainbow until afterwards?
Very well.
Yeah. It allowed me to go through so many things in life. It allowed me to see life at a different lens that I never experienced living up north.
A different perspective, for sure.
Perspective. And so I went through a period, Steve, of I experienced things down here serving the communities that I served that just doesn't exist up north at all. Right?
No, up north it's just fast and everyone's a jerk.
I'm in Richmond. I didn't know that. Like I heard
everyone's nice
like,
and
Jim Crow. No, it's like different.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, and so I experienced like different things, like to the point where, you know, like I'm like the most loving person ever.
I didn't know it was like that in Virginia. Okay.
Oh yeah, and so it's I didn't either.
yeah, right.
I had experienced different things, Steve, from serving the communities that I serve, that it was like to a point where I had hate in my heart, Steve. Yeah. I had hate in my heart, and I'm like,
I can imagine.
What's going on? Like, I don't have hate. Like,
because that's not you. Yeah.
Yeah, like Lista's my roommate. Like, why am I feeling this way about people? You know what I mean? Like, I know people. I got best friends like all over the world. Yeah. And so that's why when you were talking about the person like with Trisha, like I experienced that down here, you know, like with a friend of mine, like, you know, advocating for everybody to have access to equal education. A friend of mine who's Jewish, he and I were on the phone, and like I was like talking to him about education, and he's like, Keisha, it wasn't like a negative experience. He said, Are you Black? I said, my name's Keisha. What else do you think? Of course, let me know when you find a white girl named Keisha, okay? So
my name Keisha. Wow.
My name Keisha. It was like I went to the Ukraine, right? And then after the Ukraine, I had went to Austria. And so I went into the Starbucks in Austria and I was like, do you talk English?
English, yeah.
Like, you in a Starbucks, you're asking me, do we talk English? I was like, oh, I didn't know. I'm sorry. But the whole point is like we go through stuff and so through us going through stuff, you have like various emotions and like I said,
Very true.
it was like when I first came down here and people had different experiences with like different people. I was like, but that's not my experience because I know Lissa. That's not my experience. Like I know Steve. You know what I mean? Like, and then like living down here, I was like, then I
The
started having
culture.
this hatred
Yeah.
in my heart. And I was like, wait a minute, like this is not me, you know? And then and so that was the conception of like true love. Like I started seeing that like, you know, so as I was saying
That's
with
so
you,
important. Yeah.
Mr. Bellamy, like I started seeing like all these like different inequities, and I was like, wait a minute, like you gotta. So sometimes, like I tell people, like years ago, people would say like, you just advocate for Black boys, and I'm like, no, I advocate for humanity. They're just part of humanity as well, right? And so
Yes.
that's how True Love was started. Like I went through all these
And how long has it been around?
5 years.
That's God bless you. God
Yeah.
bless you
I went
for
through all these
doing
different processes, and I was like, we gotta
it.
like love people in spite of their race,
You
right?
figured it out. Yeah.
In spite of their socioeconomic status, in spite of their background, like even the
It,
climate that we're in right now, in spite of like whoever you voted for, like
yep.
we have to like live out love. We have to walk in forgiveness. We have to walk in understanding. And for me, it's not like I'll send, like I said, I'll send you some stuff, Steve, where you could look it up. But it's about like actually um not talking about it, but actually living it, right?
Yeah.
Like how your friend does, and actually
Yeah.
not checking a box, but actually making like true impact
I
out
would love to see that. Yeah.
here through your actions. So I can like, you know, I don't. It's weird for me to talk about
No, I'm sure it is, but
my story,
I'd
but
love to see your program. I'd love to read
yeah,
about it.
God does.
Um,
God has used me to, you know, do a plethora of things. But again, and a lot of people call it program, like find people housing, find people food, work with gun violence, work with like court appointed youth,
Wow. Wow.
work with like single mothers, work with people in domestic violence. And it's difficult
So,
for me to label it a program because I just
well,
look at
yeah,
it like love. I'm like, that's just
yeah.
love.
You're almost like a social worker with working with everyone, right? Is
Yeah,
that?
by trade, people would say by trade, like so. I was a QMHP. I started off as like doing therapy, cognitive behavior therapy,
Oh, okay.
hmm
CBT. Okay, I've done that.
CBT, and then I went into like doing consulting for mental health companies, and then I became a teacher. And then after that is when I started to love, and I was like, okay, we have to be able to kind of like create a system, Steve, of like humanity. And again, it was very difficult initially for me to
That's
kind
a
of put it into like a program, like how you said you're a
yeah,
social worker. So
yeah.
I say, Keisha, oh my gosh, you found these different people,
Well,
you
it's
know,
a great philosophy to have. The way
yeah,
that you're explaining it. Yeah.
because it's difficult for me to like make it a program because I feel like,
No, it's not. It's a way of living.
yeah, I feel like we have systematized love, and I'm trying to teach people that you don't have to systematize love. Like love doesn't
You
have
don't.
to be systematized, and that's why
No.
love is not um is as abounding as it could be, or as you know, as that's why I feel like we as like just the world have systematized love, and we've put all this red tape in order to get love. So somebody might say red tape to get health insurance, or red tape to get food, or red
Right.
tape to get housing, and I'm like, but that's
Yeah.
love. Like that's what every human has a right to. And so my goal is to desystematize love, is for us to be able to just like literally live out love with one another and have people understand that it's okay that that is a process. Like that is a process. Sometimes you got to go through hate to get to the love. You know what I
You
mean?
do.
You have to
Yeah.
walk through forgiveness. You got to walk with forgiveness with yourself. You got to walk with understanding with yourself first, so that you can be that example and be like that beacon of love for humanity that everybody like needs. And so you see me like working on different things in the whole um, the whole initiative behind it is to just get people to be cognizant of like actually living out love every day in so many different ways, you know.
And I think you're the perfect person to be doing that.
Thank you,
And
Steve.
I love that the attitude that you have. I love your way of thinking, and it's so true. And I definitely, I'll talk with Chris. I think we got to have you on for sure.
I would
Um,
love it. I'm like when I send you the information that I'm actually about to
yeah,
send you, so I won't forget. Then you'll be like, "Oh yeah, now I get what she's talking about." So I
yeah,
love
no,
that he's doing that. I love that he's doing that. I love that
yeah,
labor
he's done a
about
great
being
job.
here. I love that you are like. I just love the emphasis that you put on track.
I'm trying to get as many track people as I can. I'll take anyone. So if you when I post this, I'll put it on Facebook, Instagram,
Oh, I'm
LinkedIn.
tagging everybody. You you
Tag
you
everyone.
you haven't had Audra on?
No,
Do you
all
do you know
I
who Audra is?
yeah, I know her. I know her. I haven't had her on. I've had Coffee. I've had Bethany, and I've had Trisha.
I
Or
gotta
those,
get
and
Audra
now
on.
you.
Audra's like on like Trisha's level. Like Audra's like, like
Okay,
she's that girl. Okay.
then
Yeah,
you
she
if
is
you get
that
her from
girl.
me,
Like,
you get her
yes.
from me. I'll take whoever you know that you can get from me. I will gladly take.
I'm gonna get Alyssa to come on.
You will not get her to come on. I've
Okay,
tried.
I'm
I've
gonna get
messaged
Alyssa to come
her.
on. You know why?
Well,
Because
tell her it's not bad.
you
Tell her
know
it's not a bad experience.
because that's the problem. When you say Trisha, who's a billionaire, like me, when I was like, well, when you say Keisha, I'm like, well, what you want me to talk about? Greg's like, you could come on. I'm like, well, what you want me to talk about? You're like, well, Trisha and Bethany's coming on, and I'm like, okay, that's Trisha. She's the billionaire. Then you got Bethany. She's the Olympian, right? And so it's like, okay, well, I'm Keisha, right? And
Yeah,
so what we have to
it's all about
understand,
you.
yeah, I'm gonna get her to come on because what we have to understand, like, it's okay to be like an
It
everyday people.
That's what it's about. It's your
Yes,
story. It's not about anyone being famous. It's your story.
it's
It's
your
about where
story.
you started, your experience at UConn, and your life after UConn. That's all Husky Talk is. It's
It's just
connecting
it's all,
alumni.
and so the reason why Alyssa, if she's listening, well, they're all gonna listen once I play this. The reason
Yes.
why I
Yeah.
support Alyssa to come on and Louise and Marissa and Tamika and Kathy and let me think of all my track people: Carl, Ricky Beckford,
Oh, beautiful.
Elliot, Joanne. Joanne has to come on. The other girl from the she had an accent. She was from Louisiana that ran with Joanne. The reason why, if anybody is listening to me, why it's so important for you guys to come on is because you never ever go through anything in life. It's never about you. It's always about somebody else. And so
Correct.
something that you are going through or some part of your story is going to be able to resonate with
It's
somebody
going
else.
to
It's
resonate with someone
always
else.
for God to get the glory, right? It's
Absolutely.
always your story. So it may be somebody that is going through. Lisa has a very unique story. I don't know if you remember
She
her
does.
having all the like those muscle problems, and it's a
I
girl out
know.
here that is like, what girl has muscle problems where they have to get muscle removed? And
I
so
know.
I want to tell that story, but that story can change somebody's life.
It can.
You know what I mean? Ricky may
Yeah.
not want to tell his story, but that story could change somebody's life. Like it may be somebody that is like, listen, I don't want to run anymore. Like they're going through what I went through in terms of like, or like I didn't want to go on here because I don't have this glorified track story. I don't
But
have this, you know what I'm saying? Like,
that's not what it's about.
yeah, and I
That's
got
not
that
what the
story
podcast
of
is about.
yeah, I got that story of that coach that made sure that Keisha, you're gonna keep this money because you're gonna graduate.
Yeah.
I got that story of that coach that was there, when I got that phone call that my grandma died and she
Right.
came after a track meet. I got those teammates like that, like I still talk to till this day. So it's something, and if Steve is asking y'all to be on there, it is something that is in your story that is for somebody else. How
It's gonna
small
make a
you think it is,
difference.
it does not matter. It is for somebody else. So we're
Yes.
gonna get it popping on this, John Steve.
You know what? I appreciate that. I
Audra,
appreciate it.
Audra will want to come on there. She's the president of a college in Savannah. Um, she's doing major things in Florida. Like her husband was like the president of the Rose Bowl. Like she yeah, like her husband or the Orange Bowl. Like he was the first black president of like the Orange Bowl or something like that. Like they're in
Oh,
the
wow.
yeah. So she definitely probably wants to come on there and talk about with like what she's doing and brings a light to her program. I want to come back, Steve. I have a website. I do have a website too, Steve. I'm in the health and wellness.
Okay.
Um,
Beautiful.
yep, I'm a partner with Total Life Challenges.
Okay.
I mean, some
So send me that and I'll put that on as well.
yeah, I'll put yep. So we believe in health and wellness. We sell like health and wellness products, weight loss products, a lot of things like that.
Oh, beautiful.
It's
Okay.
a lot of stuff, Steve. We ain't even get to talk about what I do. I do a lot
Well,
of
no, that's okay. We're gonna do more. We're gonna put you on Chris's show and we're gonna put you on Bethany's show, and I think that'll be great because
Beth.
you and Bethany will be perfect with
She's
the health and wellness and everything that you're doing. It's a fit.
yeah.
So
But I definitely want everybody to, if you ran track and Steve is reaching out to you guys, I'm going to send it. Billy. Billy was a track. What did he do? Like the shot put. You got my brain just a going and gay.
if you can send me a list, text me or email me a list of track people you remember that I can reach out to, I'll reach out to them. I because I had the volleyball girls on. I did a bunch with the volleyball girls. And if you go back through and look at Husky Talk, and you can see some of the other athletes I've had on. So
Yeah.
I try to be equal opportunity.
And if you could,
So,
I'm gonna send it out and I'm gonna ask who that coach was that I really appreciate.
yes,
I want to say thank you to her. But yeah, Steve, we got to get Lissa on here. Lissa has um
I love Lissa. I love Lissa.
she's amazing. I had no idea that you had already asked her to be on here.
Yeah, she said absolutely not. I'm not coming
Yeah,
on.
she's shy. She should be.
She's shy. She's not shy. She's not shy.
She
Uh,
it's kind of like me. Like people like Keisha.
she gets loosened
I'm
up.
shy like around certain people. It's like you got this personality, but if you know me, like I get the shy / not shy person. That's like
Yeah.
how I am.
So I want to thank you again for coming on. This has been a phenomenal discussion.
I do good because I was nervous.
You were phenomenal. No, this was 2 hours that I did not expect, and it was a great learning experience for me. And I love your story. I love everything that you've been through, and I can't wait to put this up. So as soon as I get done with Laban, I'm going to try to get yours posted and Bethany's posted, and we'll be off to the races because I think this is going to do really well. And all I ask again, it's going to be on YouTube, and then it'll be on all the social media platforms, and then it's going to be on the audio platforms like Spotify and iTunes. You'll be everywhere.
Yeah.
So
And I
you'll
wanna
get
thank
a lot
you.
of coverage.
I feel like you're planting the seed. People ask me to speak all the time, and I'm always on radio shows.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I never post them. I'm like nervous, but people they're always like, Keisha, what's your platform? And I started a YouTube channel just because people ask me what my platform is. So
Okay.
this was cool for me. Like this
We
was
can promote that.
well, I don't have anything on it.
Okay.
But I was
All
just
right.
saying the whole point is like I'd be nervous, and people always say, Keisha, you should have a podcast. But this was cool, so I appreciate you for playing.
Well,
this.
I'll tell you what.
Me.
If you think it over, and if you have an idea that you want for a podcast, I would be happy to do something with you.
Look at God.
I love
Just
hosting.
appreciate you.
And if you have an idea, I can put you on our YouTube channel and my platform, and you can still use yours. And we'll talk about whatever you want. Just think about what you want to do. If you want to do a podcast, I got it all set up, so we can do it.
I love it. That'll be what podcast we talking about. That'll be like your 10th.
We'll figure it out. It's your show. It would be your show. You talk about what you want to talk about. You think of the topics and you talk about it. And I'll just be your host. I just drive the ship.
Listen, I gotta go, and you gotta go tell Laban I said
I will.
represent Pennsylvania and go UConn. I'm proud of him.
I will.
Thank
I
you,
will for
Steve.
sure.
Call me. I'm gonna
Keisha
send you the
Cummings.
information.
Yes, Keisha Cummings. Keisha Cummings. She's amazing. Former UConn track, and now she's doing some amazing work down in Virginia. So happy she was on the show. I'm Steve Cully. This has been Husky Talk. I am the best podcast host in the universe. Remember,
Period.
when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges